All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live coming at you on a Friday, baby. Heading into the weekend. Mike Carver here with you, along with Doug Kezirian, as we get ready for all of the action tonight and this weekend. Of course, Betting Weekly Studios, Bet Rivers Network. Great to have everybody with us here today. And we have got a full slate tonight. 2 games in the Major League Baseball playoffs, including one team that can go home tonight, the Milwaukee Brewers. We have got a ton of college football tonight, tons of NFL for the weekend. There's pucks, there's NBA. It is all happening. Doug, it's great to see you as always. And as we get ready for all this action tonight, I do have to say, man, I did not expect a couple of old quarterbacks to have a street yard game last night in Cincinnati. That was unbelievable, with Rodgers and Flacco chucking the ball all over the place. Great defense they played.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching a MAC game where these inept defensive coordinators couldn't figure out how to guard the guy with 18 targets, running wide open. If I look different today, it's because I'm not in the big survivor pool anymore. I went with the
Oh,
Steelers. Now, look, you got to win 20 legs and out. I'm in all my other survivor pools because I had to get cute and things like that. But I just thought this Mike Tomlin record that was so bad in short weeks on Thursday night, it's because of his awful quarterbacks he's had the last decade, right? The Kenny Pickett's, even Russell Wilson, um, the guy from Oklahoma State. Those weren't real quarterbacks. And then Rodgers was great, except for the forced interception on first down in the end near the end of the first half. Like that's the key. But still, they were up 10-0. If not for a false start, maybe it's 14-0. Either way, they're up 10-0. It's the defense that was inexcusable. Now I know Flacco's good and can read defenses, and they tried to bracket, and then that's what happened, the long seam pass. But still, you got to be able to play defense. And it was a pathetic performance from this Steelers D.
it certainly was. That's for sure. Good to have everybody in the chat box with us here as well for Betting Weekly Live. Let us know what you're on this weekend. We'll try. Good evening, both. Bengals on the spread did me nicely yesterday. Did a lot of people nicely. Bengals on the spread. Probably a couple Bengal money lines out there as well last night, maybe, that got the job done. All right, Doug, we got a lot to get to, so let's roll. We'll start with the baseball tonight because we have two very different games. We've got a game 5 in the ALCS with Toronto now back 2-2 with Seattle. In a little bit, we'll get to the Brewers hanging on down 3-0, possibly going home tonight in Los Angeles. But we will start here, Doug, in Seattle, which starts in about an hour from now. Game number 5. It'll be the same pitching matchup, of course, that we had in game number 1. Kevin Gossman will go for the Jays. Bryce Miller will go for Seattle. Right now, at Bet Rivers, as you see right there up on the screen. Toronto, actually, now I've got it. Bet Rivers minus 115. Mariners minus 103 with the flat 7 total, Doug.
I'd be careful with any overs in the prop market for Bryce Miller. I think he's only going to go one time through the lineup. So maybe if an under pops up here at Bet Rivers, you can bet that, maybe in-game wagering. I think short hook, short leash for this Mariners, and everything's getting a little tight for all those Mariners fans in the seats, if you know what I mean. Things are tight over there because I think the Blue Jays have taken control of this series. Um, I think the team total is the way to go for Toronto, over 3.5 runs. Now, if the M's go to their bullpen and it's a long haul for this Toronto offense, but I just think it's one of those things where they're playing well, they're playing every day, no downtime, seeing the ball well, as they say. So I'll have to roll with the Blue Jays, and you get the road components, or you're guaranteed ninth inning ups. I think over 3.5 is the play.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I went with it last night on the Toronto team total, going after Louis Castillo, and I think you're dead on with Miller. I'm not sure how long he goes here in this game, but believe it or not, Doug, these two guys was the only game in this series that's been under. Right, the last 3 games have all gone over the total. The first game, 3-1, was the Gossman Miller game. So interesting to see how it goes tonight. You know that I love to throw a player prop in there. Hard to ignore something like this. 8 for 17 with 4 homers. That's Cal Raleigh off of Kevin Gossman. Homered off of him in game number 1. So I'm going to go a little Cal Raleigh tonight, Doug. Over 1.5 total bases at plus 107. And I think I will piggyback you with the Toronto team total as well.
I just think the bats are so impressive, and it's not just Guerrero; it's everyone. I mean, even their ninth hitter, right, is doing
Yeah.
damage. Um, and Mariners have great staff, right? But not tonight. Like Bryce Miller's not the guy that is the rest of the staff. It's not Woo. It's not Kirby. It's not some of these other guys. So I just think you have to kind of wrap your head around or put the toothpaste back in the tube of like, oh, this Mariners, they have low scoring games. They're pitching dominant. No, like not with this duct tape piecemeal team they're going to throw out there in terms of the pitching. So I like the Blue Jays to score some runs. Not my favorite bet, but still a bet.
It certainly is. And then they will go back. We now know they will go back to Toronto for game number 6. That will be on Sunday night between the two of them. Don't forget, after the game, immediately after the game, Jays Mariners, head over to Toronto Sports Rush channel right here on the Bet Rivers Network. Post game coverage with Dan O'Toole, Kyle Andrew, and Bobby Valentine. That is tonight after the game. Dan, Kyle, and Bobby on Toronto Sports Rush right after the Jays. Amish Farmer checking in today, Doug. I had Flacco over 1.5 touchdowns at plus 105. Imagine having both the old guys over 1.5 touchdowns last night. Everybody over the touchdowns. The tight ends. What a Noah
Tight
Fant.
ends, all tight end touchdowns, 97-1, the same game parlay.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible. I have a feeling the Toronto series is going 7. I kind of do too, Michael Corleone. But see, like you said, Seattle's got to find a way now, Doug, to stop this momentum and turn the tide back in their favor. Because if they went back, look, the road teams won every game in this series, so it's hard to say home and road. But I wouldn't feel very good if I'm a Seattle fan if they were going back to Toronto down 3-2. That's a very tall order after winning the first game
No.
there.
No, I mean, you won there before if you're the Mariners. You won there back-to-back games, but it all comes down to the pitching, and the reason I went to the team total is I don't trust Gossman here, so that's why I isolated
Mm,
the team total. I could see this being a slugfest, 5-4 kinda game, but it's pivotal. I mean, we know series tied 2-2, so
yeah.
I think these managers will have short hooks.
I believe so as well. The second game tonight will be, of course, just after 8:30 p.m. East till 5:30 on the coast in Los Angeles. Game 4 between the Brewers and the Dodgers, as the Dodgers will look to sweep them away. A 3-1 win last night. Once again, good. Even for the Dodger bullpen, gave you some good innings last night. They will look to close the door with Otani getting the ball. Jose Quintana will start for Milwaukee finally. I knew yesterday, Doug, I said to you, I don't believe them that Quintana was going to come in and ended up being Mizorowski. It's been a mess for the Brewers trying to piece this pitching together. But the main thing is they've gotten zero offense. They're huge dogs tonight, plus 165, Dodgers -2, Bills, and a 7.5.
I don't know what to think of this. Usually, I
Me
have an
either.
opinion, and I've been riding the Dodgers a lot in these playoffs. I'm like, "Just lay it. They're too good." I don't know. I don't know about this spot. I'm not sold on Otani pitching here. We know the Dodgers relaxed a little bit against the Phillies, not against the Reds, but that was a 2-game, sweep. They did let up when they had the chance to go for a 3-game sweep here with Philly. Now it's a chance to go for a 4-game sweep. I don't know. I mean, the Dodgers came up with some big hits, right? Yesterday they got big hits and they got the big outs. Muncy with the scoop on the ground to the third, spins, throws home. That could have got out of hand. So this hasn't been an 8-2 game every game. So I think this one is, and you got to, I mean, the lay of the $2 is out of control. So I'd hold your powder here. I wouldn't lay the $2.
I would not either. You look at every game's been under so far. That's kind of where, are we finally going to get some runs in this series? Milwaukee's only scored 1 run in each game. That their team totals 3.5 tonight at plus 117 to the over. They just have not been able to score runs. Otani hasn't pitched since, I believe, game 1 of the Phillies series. So a little bit over a week since Otani's gone. I'm with you. I think you said it perfectly. I have no idea where I want to go, at least pregame, right? At least pregame, Doug. I don't know where I want to go in this game because I don't have a good
And
handle
that's
on it.
okay. And
Yeah.
that's okay. I mean, that again, I talked about this earlier in the week, maybe yesterday. That's the advantage we, the betting public, has, right? They get to have the VIG, the built-in math advantage. We get to pick and choose which games we want to bet and then parlays and then how to, do whatnot. We don't have to lay it, right? The difference between the straddle, it's called the difference between the money lines here, -200 and plus 165. That's a 35-cent straddle, right? That's their edge. We don't have to do that. We don't have to bet it. We can watch. We can abstain. We can wait. We can bet the total. You can bet player props, things like that. I don't have a good feel. I kind of have this. Dodgers are my favorite team. I kind of have a good read on them, but not now. Like today, I think it could go either way. like, not that I would be in a baseball playoff pick'em league, but if I had to pick it, I'd lean Brewers with the plus money.
I played the bets total bases yesterday, thinking that he was going to face Quintana, and he ended up getting it in the first inning with that double. So I almost feel like I got to go back to it tonight. It's plus 108 because he is going to see Quintana now. At least we know once through the first time through the order. So I'm going to go back to bets, if anything at all, with the Brewers and the Dodgers this evening. We'll see if Milwaukee can keep the season alive. All right, NFL on a Friday here on Betting Weekly Live. We'll go through a bunch of the games here for Sunday. First injury report. Obviously, Doug, we see a lot of guys. There's a ton of injuries this week, especially skill position players. We've got no Puka Nakua for the Rams. I know I was watching Debo today for Washington give the, I don't know, we'll see. We know McLaurin's not playing again for them. Diggs has got a weird injury for the Cowboys in that game, too, where he's not going to go now. He's suddenly in concussion protocol. Wentz is going to start for Minnesota. Once again, you get to the middle of the year, Doug, and the injuries start to pile up really around the league.
I think this is almost a must win for the Eagles. Not that their season would be, all for naught if they lost, but I just think the way things have been going, like the scuttlebutt, everything, and off a loss, like they kind of need to take care of their business here. And they have a beatable opponent with Minnesota and Carson Wentz here. Like the Vikings need to circle the wagons here. And just kind of go in and take care of business and kind of remind themselves they are a Super Bowl contender. And I'd be shocked if they don't. I guess shock's a strong word. I'd be surprised if they don't. I think they're the better team. They need to handle their business. I don't think much of this Vikings team. I really don't. They do some things nicely, and Patterson's awesome. But besides that, they leave a lot to be desired. And I think the defense is overrated. So back-to-back losses for the Eagles, extended rest off the Thursday night game. They need to kind of remind themselves that they're the Super Bowl champs and go in there and take care of business.
Yeah, it seems like this is that if you're going to get a wake up call, it's that Giant game, right? Because they're better than the Giants. And the way that they got smacked around by the Giants in the Thursday night game, if that doesn't wake you up and say, we're the defending Super Bowl champs, like, can we step up here? You've got the whole Carson Wentz revenge angle nonsense. I mean, he was there before this whole crew, Sirianni, etc., was there anyway. But I don't know, Doug. I'm with you. I think if the Eagles are going to step up, this is the week. It's a short number, too. -2 right now at Bet Rivers. It's under a field goal. And I don't love the total, 43.5. It's kind of an under for me, Doug. I think if the Eagles do take care of business, it's a 24-10 type of take care of business for the Eagles, right in that zone.
I mean, look, it's not the end of the world if they lose, but I would be surprised if if they did. I mean, look, the Vikings can win. I mean, they can
Yeah.
turn chicken, what into chicken salad. It could be an ugly game. I just don't think the Eagles' problems are as fundamental as we think. I think they can get back to business. They were up that whole game against Denver, and then they blew it in the fourth, and then they probably took the Giants lightly. I think we're going to get a strong performance out of Philly here. We've seen them rise to the occasion. They rise to the occasion at Arrowhead. Took care of business opening night. They did have a comeback against the Rams, but at least they rallied in the second half. And that Denver game they were controlling, and the Bucks game was an impressive win. So their ceiling is way higher. Their good is way better than the Vikings' good. So I'll bank on that.
Speaking of the Giants, we just mentioned them, how they beat the Eagles last time out. They got themselves a little bit of extra rest off a Thursday night game as they take a trip out to Denver to see the Broncos, who, of course, had a sloppy performance, albeit a win against the Jets in London last week. So that's a big travel. They were on the road for 2 weeks, now come all the way home to Mile High. -7 for Denver here, 40.5 the total at Bet Rivers. For me, Doug, I kind of like the Broncos here, and I'll tell you why. I know people are excited about the Giants. They're excited about Dart. They're excited about Cam Scatterbo and all that. This is a tough road spot for a rookie quarterback. I know it's not his first road start. That was in New Orleans, which is a tough place to play, but the team's not very good. This is a really good defense he's going to see on the road. And I think that that's kind of what tips the scales for me here. Knicks usually does just enough at home. I think the game might be a little ugly, but I think the Broncos can find a way to cover 7.
Yeah, I think the number's right. I don't want to get involved, but if you told me survivor pools
Mm.
or, things like that, teasers, money line parlays, yeah, I could get behind Denver. Um, that was a tough spot last week, the travel, everything. They're back home. I do think they're a really solid defense, but Dart can make good defenses look foolish with his legs. If there's good defenses one thing they hate, it's a mobile quarterback and a guy who kind of thrives when things break down. And the defense is solid for New York. I'd lean to +7 here, honestly, but I'm not running to the counter. I think it's just a low scoring game. Like you said, Knicks does typically just enough, not just enough to cover, just enough to win. So, but I do think it's going to be really hard, much harder for them to score and everything than, than they saw with the Eagles. They kind of ran all over the Eagles.
Now, I might feel a little differently, Doug, if by Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, if I throw a little half in there and we got to 7.5, I don't know if I'd be as feeling as good about the Broncos. That might switch me over to the Giants side if we get a little 7.5 on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's going to move because I think sharp money is going to be on the dog here.
Okay.
But I don't think Denver's explosive enough. They can be, but I don't know, man. I, I'm not sold on Denver opening up a can here.
No.
If they did, they do it at home. So this is the recipe. But I don't think the spot. I think the Giants are off 10 days, so I think they'll be coming in with a full gas tank.
And you know what? There's been some snippy stuff back and forth as well. I don't know how this started, considering Giants Broncos isn't exactly a rivalry. I mean, they play once every 4 years, but
Right.
you've had a bunch of guys on defense on the Broncos side who have been running off at the Giants this week. And then Abdul Carter got back on social media, was going back and forth with them. So a little weird back and forth between the players for the Giants and the Broncos. So you got to throw that in as well. On Sunday, following that game, Giants Broncos, head to the Mike Francesa podcast channel. Of course, part of the Bet Rivers Network for New York Giants instant reaction and post game thoughts. That'll be Sunday right after the game. The Giant Bronco game is a 4 o'clock East kick. So check out Mike on the Bet Rivers Network right after that. All right, Commanders at Cowboys. Also 4:25 p.m. East on Sunday. This has moved now here. I mean, I remember we talked about this game earlier in the week, Doug, and the Commanders were, I think, -1.5 or -2 here on a Friday. Cowboys are now -1. Still a big total at 54.5. I gave you some of the info earlier. No McLaurin. Diggs on defense for the Cowboys, not going to be there. Debo seems like a question mark. Also for the Washington offense. POINTS, points, I guess.
This is interesting. I think the McLaurin injury factored into this, and it's important to recognize sometimes there's an injury alert and the odds makers don't move it, but sometimes there's the bet with that news, and then they move according to the bet. So sometimes you can say, you can't really you can connect dots, but you can't just assume. So it doesn't surprise me that we had a favorite switch here. Dallas has been pretty buttoned up and pretty strong, all things considered, based against what we thought coming into the season, right after trading their star pass rusher. I just think we get caught up in sports, especially the NFL, because the margin of error is so small, is that we think things are incremental, right? Commanders made the big jump last year, rookie quarterback, dynamic. They get to the playoffs. They win a playoff game or two. Then we think that they're gonna keep going. It doesn't always work like that. Now they sometimes regress. This and sometimes it's easier being the hunter and not the hunted. Well, now they're the hunted a little bit. Other teams get up for them, like the Bears on Monday night, and the execution has to be flawless, which was not the case with Washington on Monday night. So things aren't always incremental. That's why we have such a handful of teams that missed the playoffs after making them the prior season. And I wonder if the Commanders are sort of coming back to earth after outkicking their coverage in Jaden Daniels' rookie season. I think this is sort of the regression. And Dallas at home, I could see being the 1 point favorite. That makes sense to me. I don't have an opinion here, but it does feel right.
Yeah, it does. For me, it's going to be the total one way. Whether you want to go team total, whether you want to go total for the game, which is hefty. Look, you don't get many 54.5s as you go throughout the season. I mean, that's as big as you're going to see. But the one thing that has been kind of constant, Doug, is the Cowboys are going to give up a lot of points, and most weeks they're going to score a lot of points. And I think that that's kind of where look at the Commander team total 27.5. That's 4 tutties, Doug. Can we get 4 tutties out of Jaden Daniels on Sunday? Win, lose, or draw?
Yeah, I mean, I think the opposing quarterback for the Cowboys is the highest QBR in the season, right? It's like higher than Josh Allen and
Yeah.
whatnot. So Commanders team totals tempting. I believe Cowboys games have all gone over except for a couple bad beats on the under, like the opening week when they had 40, whatever, 1 points in the first half and couldn't go over 47 and a half.
Yep.
I would say it's a big number, so I would pause there. 54 and a half. So, I mean, we saw the Commanders offense stall in the red zone, and you get a lot of 3-point trips instead of 7-point trips. And the Cowboys sort of are learning to play offense. Schottenheimer's figuring out how to play call to protect his defense a little bit. So honestly, with that big number, 54 and a half, I'd look under, but I wouldn't want to bet it because it'd be such a sweat and you're hoping it lands 51 or something like that. But the Bears and the Cowboys, those games have been really high scoring and team totals involved.
Well, let's talk about the Bears next. Of course, they're coming off a big win on the road on Monday Night Football against Washington. Now they get the Saints team coming in, and the Saints have been spunky this year. We know that in a lot of spots, but on the road, very difficult for them going outside, especially since you have a little bit of weather in Chicago as well on Sunday. Bears now laying 4.5 at Bet Rivers, 47 is the total. Corleone, my memory is correct. The Dallas Washington games are high scoring historically. They have been the past few years. They have been high scoring. But can we get some high scoring in the Saints and the Bears, Doug, on Sunday as well with a 47?
Good. I know some sharp money came in on the over that moved this market up. Sharp money came in also on the Saints +6 as well. So 6 and then over as well, and that's why we're seeing this number climb up. It's kind of a high total, but this team's a little frisky. This Saints team, but they're much better at home. On the
Yeah.
road, they've been sort of a much different animal. So I wouldn't be in a rush to play the over, but I just wonder when this Bears flat spot's going to come. They've won 3 straight games, have an inferior opponent. I think the Saints are sneaky here. Like I said, sharp money came in at 6. I feel like 4.5 is the right number. I would lean New Orleans here, but man, Caleb Williams, if you look at his game log, the last 4 games, he's come into his own. He's slinging it.
There's kind of just two conflicting things for me here, Doug. Like, one is this is like the kind of spot where the Bears have a huge win. Everyone pumps them up. Bears are back. They're going to go on a little run here. They're going to play well, and they lay a huge egg at home. But as you mentioned, Saints on the road this year. Now, they've played 4 of their 6 games at home. They haven't left the dome much so far. They got completely blasted in Seattle by the Seahawks, 44-13. And they gave up 31 points to the Bills. They did cover the game, but that's because it was an enormous number. So the Saints, in their 2 road efforts so far, they have not been good, Doug. And I think that that's kind of what leans me to it here on Sunday.
Right. And that would I hear you. I just again, there's an ebb and flow to these seasons. We see teams lay eggs. We see no one plays the best every week. No one plays their worst every week. So it's kind of like trying to find the needle in the haystack. Remember, going back to how sports books operated, there's a reason they put the sheet of all those stats and trends right for the bettors to have in their hand. It's because they are not actionable and they're not predictive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have trends that are macro, like that I think are interesting. Teams that are 0 and 2 are better, whatever. But the actual team recency does not sort of dictate and is not really predictive. So Bears on a roll makes me more inclined to fade them than to bet on them. But I think the market's right. I think 4.5 is the right number. I don't see an edge here.
We've got a matchup of betting narratives next. New England in Tennessee against the Titans. And you've got one on both sides, right, Doug? You have Vrabel coming back to Tennessee for the first time after he was fired a couple years ago with his beloved Patriots. Now he returns. You have the Titans, who fired Callahan earlier in the week and now have Mike McCoy as the interim head coach. And you even have kind of a third thing here, which is kind of more stuff that we look at. The Patriots are playing their 3rd straight game on the road in this game, and they won the first 2. They're looking for 3
No
wins in a
bye
row
weeks
on the
either.
road. No bye weeks. A legit 3 weeks in a row on the road. This one right now at Bet Rivers has still at -7 for the Patriots, the road favorite, and a 42.5 total.
Yeah, this is really tough. Like you said, worlds colliding, George Costanza style. History has shown it does not bode well for the team on their 3rd straight road game. And the fact that the other team's got the new coach bump. We heard after the weekend that the practice last week was terrible for Brian Callahan, and that's one of the reasons he was fired. Now, their new coach obviously has experience. He's been doing this a while. He's been an OC, he's been a head coach. There's a lot to like with the Titans' new direction, but you just wonder about the rest of the staff, and things can't get solved overnight. These guys have bad habits, the players, right? Cam Ward's a rookie, has bad habits. Patriots do have explosivity in terms of their offense. We saw that last week with Drake May throwing deep and stuff. And this Titans team is like literally like 6-25 against the spread the last couple seasons. They've been terrible. So it's Titans or pass. I do think the Patriots are going to be focused on this game, kind of run through the tape, if you will, for their third straight road game. I think they're going to be all business with Vrabel going back to the team and face the organization that fired him.
I want to take the Titans so bad, Doug. I'm like, I want to, like, I want to take them, but like you say, they've been such a dead team. It's so hard to jump on them with how Cam Ward has looked, how they've looked defensively, all these things. It's probably something that I'm just going to have to pass on for right now. The New England offense has been cooking, though. If you know, I mean, Drake May, you talk about the incline over the past couple weeks, and these are road games. He's putting up a lot of points every single week, and the passing game is starting to get going as well. So that's something to look at moving forward is how they're performing offensively. That's what's caught my eye because a Vrabel team, right, Doug? And usually you don't think about that stuff, but you do have McDaniels there coaching May up, and he's done a nice job of it, and they're scoring lots of points.
We're going to learn a lot about the Patriots. There's a lot of buzz. The bandwagon's getting full, right?
Yeah.
Like they're now tied with the Bills atop the AFC East, and obviously they have the tiebreaker because they already beat Buffalo at Orchard Park. I just like the guy in his second year, the young quarterback's going to have some growing pains. We saw some last year. We saw some early this year. There's going to be some time in the middle of the season, but maybe Diggs is finally healthy. It took some time for him to get 100%. He's made a difference, opening up as well the other receivers. The Patriots, if they go with Travion Henderson and he doesn't fumble, this could be a really tough team. And the Titans aren't really up on the same level. But you give me +7 at home with a new coach, kind of have to take it, don't I?
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. Player props for Sunday. You know that I'm going to go to the end zone. It's kind of where I've been. I do have three that have kind of jumped out at me, price wise, and others. Tyler Warren for the Colts. Chargers against the tight end this year has not been great. Warren, you know what I like about Warren too, Doug? Not only is he catching the ball, he's like their guy now on their quasi tush push play. Like he goes in there and he's the short yardage guy. So you could sneak a rushing touchdown maybe if the Colts are down at the one with
Oh,
Warren
yeah.
blasting in. So I like him at +150. Kayshawn Booty seems to really be rising the past couple of weeks. He had 2 touchdowns last week. He had 1 2 weeks before that. May's been looking to him a lot. If they're going to rack this Tennessee team, potentially, I think Booty gets involved. So a big number for Kayshawn Booty, +260 at Bet Rivers. And Tutu Atwell. You have no Puka Nakua this week, Doug. And you know in the past when Cup was out, who was the guy that usually stepped in and Stafford looked at him a lot? It's Tutu Atwell. I think you could see some Tutu Atwell, and they're giving you +340. Obviously, Adams is going to be the main guy, but Tutu Atwell is going to get a little bit more burn this week. I'd watch him on Sunday morning in London.
Yeah, and the Jags can certainly give up some points. We've seen that this year. They're by no means a stout defense.
Yep.
And that's the sort of path to victory for the Rams. It's to let Stafford sling it, different arm angles, let him read these defenses, getting rid of it, and McVay sort of drawing circles around the opposing team's defense. So I can get behind Atwell. Like you said, he's a burner, and he had the big touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, against the Colts,
The
the game
Colt
winner.
game. Yes, he did. And that will be my bonus ball for you before we move on. Colts Chargers in the late window on Sunday. Chargers -1.5, 48.5. You know, we finally saw the Colts. They still won, but they didn't cover against Arizona. This is their second trip out to the West Coast. They already played. Remember that game you just mentioned against the Rams?
Right.
Uh,
Same stadium.
Same place. You like who do you like in this one?
Yes. It's a good game. I'm excited to watch it. I think
Yeah.
just the Chargers' offensive line injuries is what keeping me off them. I know someone I relatively respect that said wrong team's favorite. I wouldn't go that far. Colts are a legit team. They really are. But I think Harbaugh is a legit coach, and so I would back the Chargers here in this spot. I don't feel comfortable, but I wouldn't take the +1. I would need more for that game.
Yes, there you go. NFL Sunday here on Betting Weekly Live. Don't forget, Bet Rivers has you set up NFL Parlay Profit Boost Log in each Sunday to Bet Rivers to receive 2 profit boosts. You get 1 parlay profit boost for any 3+ leg NFL parlay. Final parlayed odds on that of plus 300. And you get 1 SGP profit boost for any NFL same game parlay, 3+ selections. Again, final odds plus 300 or more. Bet Rivers NFL parlay profit boost. All right.
One game I wanted to mention, this
Oh,
Cleveland Browns game with Judkins, his
oh,
prop has
yeah.
gone flying. It was like 78.5. It's now 94.5. Bad weather expected, maybe a lot of winds. The Browns offensive line should maul the Dolphins defensive line. I think they're going to hand it to Judkins early and often, especially with a weak quarterback and a young quarterback. And Joku's out. Uh, we know the Cleveland offense going back to the overseas game is a lot of dinking and dunking, but it's going to be a lot of straightforward running. Miami, who knows where their head's at? If the winds are high and Tua's calling out team meetings and stuff, this could be Judkins just having like a 30 carry game. So his prop is 20 plus, minus 177, and 94.5 for his rushing yards. The market's moved, but may not have moved enough.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that game up because I know I said that to you on Tuesday, I think it was when we did the go for the
Yeah.
2, that I like that under when it was at 40.5. That's one of those things you were talking about yesterday. If you like a number early in the week, don't be afraid to kind of jump on it because what is it now? The 36.5 at Bet Rivers. Down 4 points because they keep talking up all this monstrous weather that they're going to have there on Sunday. So I think I still like it at 36.5, but I'm glad that I have the 40.5 from the pocket in Tuesday.
I would say the winds can change, right? So
Yeah.
that's like as high as 50 miles per hour, but then the people saying that aren't really sure. So I would just be, keep an eye on. There's a very good chance that the weather got people are wrong, right? We all know that from local TV. So
Mm,
just don't take it with such certainty. Here we are, just inside of 48 hours away.
no doubt. All right, college football now. We got some good games tonight before we talk about a few things on Saturday. And when you talk about, we just mentioned lines moving and lots of moves. This Louisville Miami game, which I did like Louisville a lot. This was 14. It's 13.5 this morning. And we're getting a little closer to kick now, Doug. And guess what? 11.5 for Louisville now with a total of down to 49.5, actually, up to the second at Bet Rivers. I like Louisville in this spot, but now we've lost a couple points, Doug. I don't know if 11.5, obviously that's not as good as getting 14. That's for sure.
It was 13.5 for the last couple of days. We're all waiting for 14 and no dice. It's going the other direction. I don't think you should bet it. I think Miami could certainly have an in-game line where we get 14.5 because in-game lines are usually always have a hook on them. I would just be really careful betting this game. I mean, there's going to be times to fade Cristobal. Maybe it's this time, but that defense is really formidable. And Brom is great. Brom's great in the underdog role. Love him in the underdog role. So it's dog or pass, but we've kind of missed the boat, but
Yeah.
we could get it back during the game, or maybe there's some late steam before kickoff.
That's one of those ones. Maybe we can get Miami to get the ball first and score, and we could push that thing maybe back up, back up a little bit. At least try to. Uh, Nebraska at Minnesota, Big Ten game this evening. Nebraska -7 on the road, 48 flat for the total. Minnesota, I believe, has beaten them 5 in a row. Been pretty dominant in this series when they get together. Different team though now, obviously, Doug, with Matt Rule at the helm here for Nebraska.
I mean, I think the big unknown is like the Matt Rule kind of rumors with Penn State, right? He's certainly having conversations. There's stuff like that. Now I know respected money did come in on Nebraska, and that's why the number moved up from like 5.5, 6 to 7. It got back high to 9 earlier this week and then came back down. So it's right around that number where it should be. Minnesota won last week, but they got outgained by like 200 yards by Purdue. This is not a very good team. And, it's a little shaky. I would be reluctant here, but do you really want to lay points with Nebraska on the
No.
road? They have a knack for playing down to their opponent. Now, like you said, it's a different era with Rule. They're a good team, but not a great team. And I just can't lay this big of a number on the road with them. But Minnesota's not that good of a team. It's not like I want to fire on the Gophers because I respect them and they could win the game, frankly, but they're just not that great. And so I think it's a game I'll watch, have some interest in, but they're not that good of a team.
I want to get in that boat and row it with PJ Fleck. I just can't get both feet in there right now. I just can't get both feet in the boat with PJ in Minnesota. But I don't want to lay it. I mean, Nebraska was a similar spot last week, right, Doug? They were road favorites, and Maryland won the game, didn't cover. So you got a
Maryland's
similar.
better than Minnesota, though. I'll give them
Maryland's
that.
better. Yes, they are. They certainly are. Two other games tonight. Got San Jose State at Utah State. That is a -4 for the Aggies with a big 62 total. And in the late night, under the covers game, 10:30 East kick, 7:30 on the West for Bill Belichick and North Carolina at Cal. Cal now -8. We talked about this yesterday. It was what, 9.5 yesterday, Doug, when we mentioned it quickly?
Yeah, the steam's come all it's been one-way traffic on UNC starting at 10.5 all week. It's Carolina. Look, Belichick off a bye against a freshman quarterback, a true freshman. I mean, that I understand the backing of the dog here. Now, Johnson's, I think, the better quarterback than Lopez. And Cal's defense is good. It's not amazing, though. I mean, Mensa and Duke was carving it up. Now, obviously, Mensa's a really good quarterback. I think my favorite play on this game and on all football games tonight is the under 47. I think we're going to have a punt fest, ball control, especially the first half. I don't think Belichick's going to mess around. I think the unit he's going to trust is his defense and really his own schemes against this quarterback. And he's great in terms of a 4-star upside, all that stuff coming off the islands. But this is a tough ask. And we saw, I think it was 21-3 or something like that. The Cal was leading Duke, and then they didn't score again. And the Blue Devils just made it life miserable for him. So I think UNC should, coming off all the hoopla and all the criticism and all this stuff, Carolina gets out of Dodge, flies cross country again off a bye. I think they're going to be at least have a good effort tonight. Now, because the 3 losses they've had are all excusable, right? It's just the margins that were so embarrassing. But losing to Clemson, losing to TCU, and then at the bounce house is not awful. It's just the margins. Now, I think this is a different situation, and you're catching at the time 10.5. So I understand the steam, but I like the under. I think we're in for a low scoring game here and cautious approach by each offense.
Man, they got smashed at the bounce house that night. Oh my God, they got destroyed in that game. Under tonight, 47 for UNC and Cal. All right, Saturday. You got a bunch of games here. Let's run through a couple of these, Doug, that you like. You love the MAC on Saturdays. These MAC teams, get ready. Doug's getting ready. It's almost MACtion time. He's looking at them on Saturdays too. Kent State and Toledo.
I like the MAC this week, and I'm going to start with Kent State here. Now, Kent got boat raced in some games out of conference, but they weren't playing all their best players. They were kind of just waiting for the conference. Now, last week we had them -2, 2.5 against UMass, and they won by 1,000,000. And they have an advantage in special teams. Toledo's coach always lays an egg as a huge favorite. This is way too many points. This number got bet down by a couple points. I just think Toledo's going to want to win by double digits, and that it. I think Kent State will be prepared and will hang around in this game. And I think 24.5 is way too many points.
That is a lot of sticks. UTSA, of course, they will be getting together with North Texas coming off that really tough loss last Friday night to USF. Total 66, North Texas -4.
I mean, where are the Mean Green's heads at, right? Like, this
Mm.
was a huge game against South Florida last week, right? Friday night, national television, a shootout expected, and they got kind of smoked in the second half. And you have a freshman quarterback. I love their coach. Frankly, I think he should be in the discussion for some of these vacancies. Or if one of these big time coaches goes and takes the Penn State job, then Eric Morris should be contacted. So I don't know if he's distracted. You have a freshman quarterback. I just don't know where their heads are at. Like I said, so I just think UTSA is kind of trending in the right direction. They opened up a can last week against Rice, I believe. That offense is clicking, and I think the team total is a great way to play this game. You're looking at 30.5. I like North Texas. They do sling it around, so maybe the numbers come down from like 5.5 or 6 or whatever it was. There's some 3.5s out there. I like over 30.5. That's the better way to play it because if they cover the 4, they're going to have to score points. So that's why I like it.
We mentioned Air Force. We've mentioned in the last couple of weeks they're home for Wyoming on Saturday afternoon. Air Force -4.5, and of course the big total of 58.
So Air Force is the only team right now that has gone over in every single game. They're 6 and
Mm.
0 to the over, and they changed quarterbacks for their third game this year. Went with the sophomore, and he's been leading the team in both passing and rushing yards as well. And Air Force has a unique offense. It's really a sight to behold. Where they run, they look like the typical wishbone offense for a service academy, but then they have some pro style sets. They have some spread sets, and then also the pistol formation. They do some dynamic sort of fakes, and then they drop back to pass. And that just puts such pressure on opposing defenses horizontally and vertically. So if you have one missed assignment in a lane, so to speak, gone, touchdown. So I think the Falcons light it up. I like the team total over. I think they cover the 4.5. Wyoming was down all game last week, faced San Jose State, had a win expectancy at San Jose State of like 90 something percent, and somehow it was like a pick six and like 21 straight points. So I think Wyoming's coming in off the big win. They're flat. I think Air Force rolls. While they're having such high scores, Air Force has been losing games. I think they get the win, cover the 4.5. I also like the team total as well. Air Force to score points. They've scored over 30 in every single game this year. So, yes, Wyoming does play some rock fights here and there, but I don't think they're going to be able to because they're going to give up chunk plays, which is what Air Force does. They're ninth in the country at 7 yards per play, are the Falcons. So, chunk plays are the name of the game. And I just think they can scorch this Pokes defense.
Ohio State, number one Buckeyes, with the trip to Madison against the Badgers and Luke Fickell, Saturday 3:30 East kick. Ohio State now at Bet Rivers minus 26 with a 41.5 total.
Yeah, this number's fluctuated being the first half line. It's gone between 13.5 and 14.5 all week. Now,
Mm.
obviously, the juice adjusts as well, but Ohio State has not given up a touchdown in the first half all year. Now, last week it got close with Illinois, and they were knocking on the goal line. I think there was a false start or maybe a tackle for loss, and they ended up kicking the field goal. But I think the Buckeyes handle their business. They're going into a bye. This Badgers team's been a disaster offensively. Luke Fickell, I can't believe he's still around. I like him, but just with all the hot seat and everything, I figured he'd be gone by now. But I think the Buckeyes come in, take care of business, and the offense is getting better and better, i.e., their freshman quarterback, Julian Sains, getting better and better. Wisconsin, this is not Camp Randall of old, from 10 years ago or whatnot. The Badgers or the Buckeyes should have their way. So I'd lay the 14.5. Hopefully you get good juice. It was 13.5 this morning, but also team total for the Badgers. I'd go under first half too. Like they're probably not going to score. Methodical drives and then punt. It's just going to be a kind of a gross game. I mean, the over under, look at it, 41.5 with the spread of 26. You don't see that. Some of these rock fights, you have like a 3 for a point spread and over under 40. This is a low number.
This is no doubt. It's always strange when you see like that the big spread with the low total there. Your next level of confidence. Now, I actually love one of these as well, and that's because you know that I love the unranked team at home against the ranked team being favored, and that would be Duke against Georgia Tech. Duke now from 1.5 to 3 at Bet
One
Rivers
way
with the
traffic.
one-way traffic on Manny Diaz and the Blue Devils, Doug.
Right, who could be distracted with all this Penn State opening, right, with Duke,
Yep.
but they have such a better strength of schedule. Mensa's playing so much better the last few weeks, and Georgia Tech's 3-0 in one possession games. You feel like there's some regression there. Haynes King is a nice quarterback, but he really, really crumbles under pressure, and that's what Duke does. That Duke defense shut out Cal in the second half really impressively. I think Duke manhandles the Ramblin' Wreck, but I just can't pull the trigger at 3. Maybe a money line if it gets low enough. Maybe Georgia Tech drives or something like that. But I think Duke's the right side here. I really do.
Quickly, Central Michigan and Tulane as well for you on the next level.
Talk about one-way traffic. They're betting this like it's over. It's crazy. This number's come down from 6 and 5, and they just continue to bet it. It's Maction, and this is a game where the game will be shortened, right? Central Michigan will shorten the game, and Bowling Green had the game they had the game lost, and then they get the punt return, and they're jumping for joy. I think they're ripe for a flat spot here. So I understand the one-way traffic. You see the over-under at 43.5. Um, Chippewas seem like the right side. I just can't get there. I missed the big number. But I just wouldn't lay Bowling Green. There's a lot of buzz with Bowling Green, and rightfully so, with Eddie George and everything. I would just say be careful here with the Falcons.
I'll throw one game in that we had not talked about this week that I like a lot, and I love the Holy War, Doug. I love BYU Utah. I
Totally.
think it's a great rivalry. Every year the games are crazy. Sataki and the Cougs are undefeated right now, and their dogs at home 3.5. Give me Sataki, Doug. I want to BYU on the night game here. I'm going to take the home dog, undefeated BYU. I know Utah's a better team. I understand that. 22-21 last year in a wacky, crazy game that's usually like that. I'm going to take the points.
So when people ask your favorite rivalry nickname, usually people like name a few. And it's like, that's not the exercise. What's your favorite? It's the Holy War for me. It
Yep.
really is. Just hilarious with the religion involved. I'm on Utah, but only in a pick 'em. I can't
Okay.
bet it because BYU gets all these like phantom flags and everything crazy. I do think the Cougs are good. I just think Utah's really good. And
Yeah.
yes, they lost at home to Texas Tech, but I think the Red Raiders are one of, if not the single most underrated team in the country. I don't think people realize that this is a legit national championship contender. So the fact that they lost earlier this year to Texas Tech and really is a one-sided game does not bother me. Utah on paper is the better team and should cover this, but like you said, it's a huge rivalry. I just think Utah with their dynamic play in the trenches, but Sataki's awesome in coaching, and they have that awesome fake field goal recently.
Yeah.
There's really some cool stuff. The extra hook has me off the game. I can't pull the trigger, and I swear the Cougars get every call.
There you go. College football Saturday. A lot of good ones. I got another one in my best bet, Doug, when we get to the end. NBA
Okay, good.
preseason. This is it. The last night of NBA preseason tonight. On Tuesday, they will start playing for real. There's 8 games. The only one that I'll at least bring up with you, and look, you got Hornets, Knicks, Grizzlies, Heat. I think the one newsworthy story out of these preseason games tonight, Doug, is Embiid's going to play for the Sixers tonight at home against Minnesota. Sixers are, I believe it's around 6.5 right now, if I last look at Bet Rivers. But I think that that's the thing because I'm kind of surprised. He's usually in bubble wrap, but they want to get him a little bit of work before they start playing for real.
Man, I don't mean to be so cynical, but I just love like the headlines. Paul George may not be ready for the opener for the Sixers. It's like, of course, it's a NBA season. Philly's involved. This is what we have when we have these teams. It's so annoying. I cannot get involved with the Sixers. I love their coach. That's the only reason I haven't faded him. Nick Nurse is awesome. We saw that with the Raptors when they won it all. I just can't get involved. And a lot of times these starters are playing, but they're only playing the first half. Like the Lakers were an abomination the other night against Phoenix, up 10 at the break, 15 early third quarter, and then the scrubs come in and Bronny's part of that, and then lose by 10 or whatever it was. So with these games, like you can handicap it perfectly, and then you just don't know who's going to play the fourth quarter. And we don't have, to my knowledge, first half lines, things like that. So I can't get involved here. I really kind of just so sick and tired of the Sixers and this injury nonsense. I know there's opportunity if you follow it closely. To me, it's just the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
And you do have, I saw on here, no preseason plays, but we already have started to look at the opening night games. Obviously, Tuesday's a big delay, but then Wednesday's a full slate, and you've already got something on the mind.
Yeah, I talked to a sharp guy. He bet it. I think the market's going to move. It's on the Clippers laying 8.5 on the road in Utah. Now, you might remember we did win totals. I do like the Jazz
Yeah.
over 18.5, but not for games like this. It's more catching teams from the East on the West Coast trip. This Clippers team might be a regular season beast. They go like 9 or 10 deep. And yes, they're a little long in the tooth. A lot of old guys, so they might monitor the minutes, but I just think they come at you in waves. And they finally have a backup center this year with Brooke Lopez. That was something they were lacking in the past, but they are super, super deep, a lot of talent, and a lot of firepower. And that's not something I can say about Utah. So I think the Clips with that second unit. I wonder if you do the splits this year. I bet you their second quarter splits are going to be really favorable. They're like kind of like Oak City has that second unit. I think the Clippers' really competitive advantage is going to be that second unit, and they're going to make extend some leads, things like that. So I think they win this one comfortably.
There you go. NBA, when we come back next week, we will be ready to roll for the association. Hockey. 4 games tonight on a Friday night for us. At least they did that. Last Friday, there were no games. That's Gary Bettman in the NHL for you. But we do got 4 tonight. Lightning are in Detroit against the Red Wings. Wild and Capitals. Canucks are in Chicago against the Blackhawks. And the Sharks and the Mammoth in Utah this evening. 2 things for me, Doug. First, Detroit has come out really good. They're 3-1 on the season. They're scoring lots of goals. I've been really impressed with them. And the Lightning have kind of come out a little sleepy. They've been on this little bit of a road trip. They haven't seemed really checked in yet. And that's typical Lightning in the Cooper era since they've won cups. It really does take them a while to get going in a season. You're catching the Red Wings now, plus 128. It was in the 140s earlier today, down to 128 at Bet Rivers. Like the Red Wings tonight. I'm going to take a shot with them as a home dog, Doug. So I got the Red Wings on my mind
Okay.
in that one. And the other one is the under in the San Jose Utah game. Utah has played every game to the under so far. This is the kind of game they like to choke you out. They like to get a little bit of a lead and muck the game up. I think they win this game, 3-1, 4-1, somewhere in that area. A little under with the Sharks, who are not a good team, and Utah at home, who's played all the unders.
Is Utah good enough to be laying this kind of lumber?
Now that's a whole nother story you want to get into. I don't think they are.
Right.
I
Michael
wouldn't be.
Corleone's weighing in here.
Yeah, I know a wise guy at the club will like San Jose Sharks plus 2.5 bucks. Toffoli to record a point parlay plus 135, plus 107 money if you substitute Celebrini for Toffoli. Look, plus 2.5 bucks. That ain't bad. Look, 1.5's 121. Look, I don't want to get involved with Utah at any of these numbers. I know that they're going to make the game slow. That's what I know about you. 2.5 bucks might be good for me. That's fine because I hope it's 2-0 Utah then. As long as the game stays under the 6, Doug, that's fine by me.
I like 2.5 better because there's a lot of empty netters. We've talked about goalies getting pulled early. So
Yep. There certainly has been a bunch of those. I wanted to go and look and see what that was. I'll try to get that up for you maybe before we go with the 2.5 bucks at Bet Rivers. So there you go. 4 games in hockey tonight for us, Doug. How about some best bets before we get out of here? Best bets for the weekend. Doug, I will start with the other college football game that I really like, and that is the Bama-Tennessee game. I kind of explained it to you, my reasoning the other day. I think that this game's going to have some kind of playoff intensity to it. It's a huge game for both. Alabama's at the end of this gauntlet of games that they've been playing. I think Alabama's going to win. Probably might even cover the 8.5, but 59 is a lot for me. I think Alabama's a 31-21 type of winner here in this game, somewhere around there. Tennessee, you look at, I gave it Alabama the last few times out. They are not scoring 40-plus points a game. I know Tennessee's D, a little bit of a different story. Aguilar, not great either. Under 59 for me, Doug, for this weekend, Tennessee and Alabama.
I can see it. The pace, it's really funny because the pace of Tennessee, like time between snaps, is off the charts high, whereas Alabama's very slow. So something's got to give. I don't think Tennessee with Aguilar, I just think they're outclassed here. But you're right. What's left in the tank? Bama's had some big games, a lot of emotional energy spent, but they keep winning and they've been impressive. I think there's a scenario where Bama wins going away like 31-13, but it could also be a 30-20 game. I could see it going to the over, but I'm not playing the over.
I like both of the scores that you just gave. So if those
Yeah.
two scores want to come in, Doug, on Saturday night, that's perfectly fine with me. What do you got for me? Best bet.
So there's a lot of options. I'm going to pick one and just go Air Force team total over. I talked about it. They've gone over in all 6 games in terms of their game totals. Only team in the country is undefeated to the over. Their defense is literally ranked dead last in defensive efficiency in the entire country. That's 136 teams. The offense, especially since changing quarterbacks for week 3, explosive, dynamic, huge chunk plays, top 10 in terms of yards per play average. They will just do chunk plays. And Wyoming, I know they play in some rock fights, but that's just doesn't matter when you face Air Force. They just put such stress on the defense, and their D is so bad, you are forced to be in a shootout. But Air Force will get their offense. They've scored at least 30 in every game. So facing a Wyoming team that got kind of lit up last week, I'm not too worried about this. They gave up 31 to UNLV in the snow. Now, that was a blocked punt returned. But again, that was in the snow, and the second half just died. I think Air Force will put up some points.
And I like it. I like taking Wyoming out of it, Doug. I think it's the way to go. Like, that way you don't got to worry about if they're just miserable offensively because you know that Air Force is going to be there for you. You know that they're going to get their points. Take the Cowboys out of the mix. So Doug's got Air Force over the 31.5 with the team total. Doug, tremendous week. We will be back here on Monday, Betting Weekly Live, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. Pacific. And we got a big Monday, too. We could potentially have a game 7 with the Mariners and the Jays, depending what happens on Sunday night in game number 6. Could have a game 7. I know we're going to have 2 NFL games with the Lions and the Bucks and the Texans and the Seahawks. I know we got pucks, and then we got the hoops starting on Tuesday night. So we got a lot to look forward to on Monday, Doug.
I'm excited, and we have the 2 NFL games. My favorite bet for the weekend is one of those 2 games. So I know I was a little wishy-washy with some games on Sunday, but I really like both games Monday night, but really one of them.
Well, there you go. That's another reason for
Jeez.
everybody to tune back in on Monday. Doug's got something for you in the Monday Night Football to finish off week number 7. Betting Weekly Live, Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian. Everybody have a great weekend. We will see you back here on Monday. Bet Rivers Network, Betting Weekly Studios. Have a great weekend.